Okay, today, this is Logan Peak, Miss Dietrich's class, Honors English. Today I'm going to be making a video on the recent hurricane that just happened in Florida and its effects on many different people. It was a Category 4 hurricane that was one of the most deadly to ever strike Florida, which is a really big deal since there was only 32 hurricanes of this category since 1851 in the United States. Here are some examples of before and after of some places in Florida that actually got hit. As these pictures show, hurricanes of this category can cause very severe damage to well-built buildings and can mess up everything in its path. This is classified as a Category 4 hurricane, meaning it had really high speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. That is crazy. One problem that started happening recently because of the hurricane that happens after most hurricanes is lots of flooding. And one effect of this happening is a large number of infections from flesh-eating bacteria in the water, mainly in Florida. It's called Vibrio vulnificus, and it could be caused by eating undercooked oysters and shellfish. But in this case, in the aftermath of a hurricane like Hurricane Ian, infection can start when open wounds, cuts, or scratches touch the brackish water with the bacteria. I think this is actually a very big issue because anyone who touches the water could get this in them. So anyone who just touched it and decided to cut or anything could potentially get this. Because although severe illnesses from it are rare, if you have a weakened immune system, this infection can actually be really life-threatening if it enters the bloodstream. This is a picture of up top is a picture of where the infection could come from, what kind of water, brackish warm water is where it thrives at. Yeah. Although this shouldn't be a major issue though, because the infections have already started dying down after the hurricane, and it keeps going down. So I think this should be still addressed though, because it's still a major issue. One issue that's really great for this hurricane is that the estimated cost of their current hurricane is going to be one of the top 10 most expensive in U.S. history, and actually I think that one of the first for Florida actually is estimated to be at least. The estimated cost for losses from the hurricane is around $50 billion, with the wind damage accounting for most of it. As you can see in this chart, this puts the estimated cost around the same as Hurricane Andrew and Hurricane Irma. I think this can actually set our economy back a little bit from all the costs. I'm going to show you some pictures of the damage caused by the first hurricane, just so it can be an example of what caused all these costs. Top left picture shows a boat crashed into this girl named Brenda Breton's apartment. That's just one example. The top right picture is an aerial view of a partially collapsed causeway after hurricane caused widespread destruction in the Sanibel Island of Florida. The bottom left just shows a bunch of pile of boats that got destroyed. And this happens in so many places. And the other one, just another destroyed boat. Just show more examples. I think this is a major cause of most of the cost, Even though there's way more advanced forecasts and emergency management nowadays, Hurricane Ian still caused over 100 deaths to people. This actually makes it a top 25 deadliest hurricane to ever happen in the U.S. And most of the deadliest ones came before the 1950s, which had way worse technology, way worse forecasts and stuff. So people couldn't escape in time. But now people could even escape in time. There's still this many deaths. I think this means seeing such a huge storm like this nowadays is rare, and people aren't taking the necessary precautions for a hurricane of this size. And I feel like more people should learn about this so they don't make they don't leave. They gotta leave. You've got to learn this more. I think another interesting thing that people can learn from after this hurricane is the effect it had on electric vehicles. Electric vehicles were damaged by the storm and got saltwater in them have been catching fire without warning. The NHTSA has warned that EVs can ignite weeks after being contacted by saltwater. It's also apparently a major issue for firefighters, since they have to use around 10 times as much compared to a regular gas engine car. And compared to a regular car, which would take around like an hour to put out, this one takes around 5 to 6 hours. One of the biggest concerns is that we don't know what sparks a flame actually for these fires in the first place. After the saltwater damage, simple things such as turning the wheel could spark the fire. Some tow trucks drivers in Florida will even refuse to pick up flood damaged EV cars in Florida. I think this poses a major issue for the future, since electric vehicles are basically guaranteed to sell more worldwide, and major stores are still going to keep happening. I also think the producers of these electric vehicle cars have to make some improvements so things like this don't happen again. Now, these pictures show some examples of the results of like how the fire goes out, how they get the fire out, how badly damaged they get after saltwater and how the fire starts. Now I'm finally going to be talking about some of the basic statistics of the hurricane results. There has been over 6,000 flights canceled because of the hurricane. There are also around 2.7 million people with no power at peak outage in Florida. This actually means about 25% of the whole state. But in Cuba, there was around 11 million people without power, which means the whole island was dark for a while. Its wind at 150 miles per hour is tied for 5th strongest on record in the whole United States. These are just some of the statistics that summarize how bad Hurricane Ian actually was. In conclusion, I think that even though Hurricane Ian was very terrible for so many people, I think we could learn a lot of things from it. Here are some sources I used for the project. The top 6 are ones I use for information. The bottom 2 are ones I use for pictures.